In Guinea-Bissau, the political storm resurfacing within its security and government institutions is raising deeper questions about the country's trajectory and the resilience of its democracy. How does a nation repeatedly battered by internal tensions rebuild trust in its institutions? And what does it mean for Guinea-Bissau to once again stand at a crossroad where political uncertainty threatens national stability? As the country grapples with these lingering fractures, its situation mirrors a broader continental pattern. From the Sahel to Central Africa, where coups, attempted takeovers, and institutional breakdowns have become increasingly frequent. Yet, beneath this crisis lies a larger story, a continent demanding dignity, redefining sovereignty, and challenging governance models that have long failed its people. Africa today is not only confronting instability, but it also is undergoing a profound renegotiations of power, accountability, and self-determination. Against this backdrop, Guinea-Bissau's unfolding tensions tap into a wider conversation about the future of African governance, the role of regional bodies, and the continent's long struggle to balance security with democratic aspirations. The stakes are high, not only for the nation, but for an entire continent, intent on shaping its own political destiny. Welcome to the Flash News. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. On 26 November 2025, army officers in Guinea-Bissau seized power just a day before provisional presidential elections results were expected. The takeover saw President Umaro Sissoko Embalo and other senior officials detained as the military announced a high military command to lead a transitional government. Gunfire erupted in the capital, Bissau, as troops consolidated control over key areas, temporarily halting the electoral process in a country already familiar with political instability. Well, courtesy of WADA, we have this video.
Instaurado pela alta chefia de diferentes ramos das Forças Armadas, o Alto Comando Militar para a Restauração de Segurança Nacional e Ordem Pública acaba de assumir plenitude dos poderes do Estado da República da Guiné-Bissau. Profundamente comprometido com os valores de segurança nacional, paz civil, da defesa da integridade territorial e independência da Guiné-Bissau, o Alto Comando Militar para a Restauração de Segurança Nacional e Ordem Pública reage à descoberta de um plano em curso de desestabilização do nosso país, para a operacionalização da qual se montou um esquema operacional oriundo de alguns políticos nacionais com a participação de conhecido barão de droga, nacionais e estrangeiros, bem como tentativa de manipulação de resultados eleitorais. A efetivação desse plano foi descoberto pelo Serviço de Informação do Estado um depósito de armamento de guerra. assim, e até que toda a situação seja convenientemente esclarecida e reposta as condições para pleno retorno à normalidade constitucional. O Alto Comando Militar para a Restauração de Segurança Nacional e Ordem Pública decide depor imediatamente o Presidente da República, encerrar até a novas ordens todas as instituições da República da Guiné-Bissau. Suspender novas ordens, até a novas ordens, as atividades de todos os órgãos de comunicação social. Suspender imediatamente o processo eleitoral em curso. Encerrar a fronteira terrestre, marítimo, espaço aéreo nacional. Estabelecer recolher obrigatório.
Well, the coup occurred in the midst of tightly contested elections, and international observers, including former presidents and regional figures, they were on the ground when events unfolded. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, heading the African Union and ECOWAS observation missions, was among those briefly trapped during the takeover. Jonathan, along with other high-profile observers, were safely evacuated and has now returned to Nigeria, expressing deep concern over the military seizure and joining calls for the swift restoration of constitutional order. Where here is a video of the former president of Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan, making his safe return back to Nigeria. Regional bodies reacted swiftly. The African Union condemned the coup unequivocally, demanding the immediate release of detained officials and a return to democratic governance. ECOWAS suspended Guinea-Bissau from its institutions and issued warnings of potential diplomatic and economic measures if the situation is not resolved. Now, other observers and leaders in the region voiced alarm, urging dialogue and restraint, while emphasizing the importance of preserving the integrity of the electoral process. The implications of the coup are immediate and serious. With the election halted, Guinea-Bissau faces a legitimacy vacuum, heightened political uncertainty, and potential unrest. Diplomatic isolation and the prospect of sanctions threaten to strain the already fragile economy of this small West African state. Historically prone to coups and political violence, Guinea-Bissau risks reinforcing a cycle of instability that undermines civilian institutions and empowers armed actors. The takeover also carries broader regional significance, joining a pattern of military interventions in parts of West and Central Africa that challenge democratic norms and complicate foreign relations and investment prospect. While observers stress that the coming days will be critical, the release of detained leaders, the official publication of election results, and the response of ECOWAS, the African Union, and international partners will determine whether Guinea-Bissau can navigate this crisis without descending further into instability. For a nation with limited administrative capacity and a small formal economy, the stakes are high. The path chosen now will shape Guinea-Bissau's political trajectory for years to come. Well, away from Guinea-Bissau, we see that a shocking ambush near the White House on 26 November 2025, which left one United States National Guard soldier dead as of today, and another critically wounded after 29-year-old Afghan national Ramanullah Lakanwa opened fire during a patrol. According to multiple U.S. media reports, Lakanwa served alongside U.S. troops and CIA-backed paramilitary units in Afghanistan and was resettled to the United States under the post-2021 resettlement program, Operation Allies Welcome. Authorities say Lakanwa was armed with a .57 Magnum revolver and was shot and hospitalized after the attack. He has since been charged with multiple counts, including assault with intent to kill and unlawful firearm possession. Prosecutors are reportedly considering elevated charges following the death of the Guard member, which President Donald Trump announced himself.
Right now, I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her parents are with her. It's just happened. She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible.
Well, the incident prompted a massive federal investigation by the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and other agencies, now treating the shooting as a potential terrorist act. In response, the United States President Donald Trump announced that the United States would permanently pause migration from what he referred to as third world countries. He also pledged to revoke benefits and subsidies for non-citizens, re-examine all green cards issued to immigrants from what he called countries of concern, and begin to a sweeping review of asylum approvals, including those processed under previous administrations. The attack and ensuing political reaction have reignited a fierce national debate over U.S. immigration policy, refugee vetting, and domestic security. While some argue the freeze is a necessary security measure, others warn it may punish entire communities for the action of a single individual and erode America's long-standing role as a refuge for those fleeing war and persecution. But then we can only hope that in seeking to tighten borders after this attack, the United States will not sacrifice its commitment to humanitarian asylum, and the many lives of genuine refugees will not be denied entry in the name of this new cautious security. Over to Hong Kong, the devastating fire that engulfed the high-rise residential complex Wang Fuk Court in Tai Po, Hong Kong, has claimed at least 128 lives, while hundreds remain missing or unaccounted for. The blaze erupted on 26 November 2025, rapidly spreading through bamboo scaffolding and plastic mesh protective netting used during ongoing renovation works, and ultimately consumed 7 of the complex's 8 towers. Emergency responders said the fire, which was raised to a level 5 alarm, the highest possible, was largely extinguished by the morning of 28 November after more than 40 hours of intense firefighting. Still, rescue teams have struggled to reach some upper floors due to the residual heat, structural instability, and the thick smoke. Authorities have already arrested 3 individuals connected to the renovation company responsible for the building's maintenance, charging them with gross negligence and possible manslaughter. Early investigations suggest that flammable materials, including non-fireproof scaffolding, plastic mesh, and possibly foam-sealed windows, contributed to the rapid and deadly spread of the fire. Residents recounted chaotic scenes. Many reported that fire alarms never sounded, forcing neighbors to run door to door to wake others up. Some departments and apartments in the building were left inaccessible for hours. Families rushed to hospitals and victims' identification centers hoping to find loved ones. Temporary shelters were overwhelmed and displaced residents are relying on donations, emergency aid, and housing alternatives as investigations proceed. The tragedy, now the deadliest fire in Hong Kong for decades, has sparked public outrage and renewed calls calls for a reassessment of building safety regulations, especially regarding the use of bamboo scaffolding and non-fireproof renovation materials in dense urban housing. Now, many are asking whether cost-cutting shortcuts and lax oversight contributed to what is rapidly becoming a historic disaster for the city. And away from Hong Kong, we see that Pope Leo XIV, newly elected in May 2025, and the first pontiff from the United States, landed in Ankara, Turkey on 27 November to embark on his first international apostolic journey. The trip, spanning November 27th to December 2nd, will take him from Turkey to Lebanon with a core focus on peace, building, interfaith dialogue, and Christian unity amid global conflict. In Ankara, the Pope met with Recep Tayyip Erdogan and addressed political and religious leaders, calling for pluralism, justice, and solidarity to counter growing global polarization and conflict. It described societies torn by extreme positions as vulnerable, urging a return to compassion and mercy as fundamental principles for global coexistence. A centerpiece of the visit is the commemoration of the 1700th anniversary of the First Council of Nicaea, to be celebrated in Iznik, the historical Nicaea, a milestone now symbolizing hope for Christian unity. Pope Leo is also expected to meet the spiritual head of Eastern Orthodox Christianity, Patriarch Bartholomew I, in Istanbul, underscoring the Vatican's push for ecumenical reconciliation. Ahead of the formally packed schedule, the Pope told journalists aboard his flight that his mission is to proclaim how important peace is throughout the world, to invite all to come together to search for greater unity and harmony. Now, the timing of the trip amid escalating conflicts in the Middle East and global tensions amplifies its significance. Analysts note that beyond spiritual symbolism, the Pope's visit sends a political and moral message that religious leadership must speak loudly for peace, dialogue, and unity when division and war threaten to overwhelm humanity. In a fractured world where divisions, religions, political, cultural, deepen daily, can faith and moral authority still bridge the chasms the states, politics, and armies have failed to close? While the visit of the Pope hopes to answer that question in the coming days. But this has been the Flash News. Thank you for joining in. With that, we leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Do have a great day.